All right, today we are diving into a project that's, well, it's both fascinating and, if I'm being honest, a little bit terrifying. We're talking about building a custom home for one of the world's most infamous insects. You may know it as the giant water bug, but it's got a much more memorable nickname, the toe biter. And yeah, that nickname, it is not a joke. These things aren't just big bugs. They're famous for having one of the most painful bites in the entire insect kingdom. So actually deciding to keep one as a pet, that is a bold, bold move. So what exactly are we dealing with here? Well, it's a big predatory insect that lives in the water, and it's got this brutally efficient system for hunting. It uses these powerful forceps to just grab its prey, and then it injects a venom that paralyzes them and, get this, liquefies their insides. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, but it is very, very real. So let's just break down this predator's toolkit because it is wild. You've got these insanely sharp pinchers to get a death grip on whatever it's eating. Then there's the sharp mouthpiece to inject the venom, and that venom turns the prey's insides into, well, the source literally calls it a smoothie. I don't think I'll be able to look at smoothies the same way again. Oh, and as if that wasn't enough, did I mention they can fly? Because, yep, they can fly. So, how in the world do you even begin to create a home for a creature like this? You can't just toss it in a fishbowl, right? The very first step in this whole wild journey was building a habitat that perfectly mimics its natural, swampy home. The whole build was broken down into three pretty simple steps. First, crafting a dark, natural-looking backdrop. Second, laying down the foundation with all the gravel and driftwood. And finally, adding all those swampy details, the leaves, the moss, all the stuff that gives it that perfect murky vibe. The big idea here, the goal, was to make it look just like an underwater mangrove swamp. To pull that off, a black background was used to give it that deep water feel, along with some spray foam to attach pieces of cork bark, and then just a whole network of sticks to look like a tangled mess of roots. But how do you get that really authentic, murky swamp water? It's not just about tossing in some dirt. Turns out there's a secret ingredient, a little magic touch. And that secret is something called tannins. So what are tannins? Well, they're these totally natural compounds that basically just leak out of wood and dead leaves. They're what gives the water that perfect, murky, brownish color. And here's the cool part. It's not just for looks. Tannins are actually super healthy for aquatic creatures. In this tank, they came from driftwood and these special miracle leaves to really create that perfect swamp. Okay, so having a functional tank is one thing, but this enclosure was about to get a serious and frankly hilarious dose of personality. And this is where things just get amazing and kind of weird. Tiny little picture frames, like dollhouse-sized, were put in the tank, and each one had a custom photoshopped picture. You've got a toe biter eating a frog, another one with these majestic angel wings. There's a mother with eggs on her back, and my personal favorite, a photo of someone willingly being bitten by a toe biter. I just have so many questions about that one. And the theme doesn't stop there. There are also custom wood-burned signs. You have simple warnings like, "Beware of the biter," and this grim but hilarious eulogy. "Rest in peace to all the insects and fish that enter this tank." It's just the perfect mix of dark humor and a very, very real warning. All right, the house is built, it's decorated. Now it's time for the main event. Let's see this apex predator actually do its thing. How does a toe biter even hunt? Now, before we get to the feeding, you have to understand their strategy. Toe biters are masters of the ambush. I mean, they have evolved to look exactly like a dead leaf. They just find a good spot, stay perfectly still, and wait for some poor, unsuspecting victim to swim on by. So, how did the actual feeding trials go? Let's break it down. Mealworms got a decent 7 out of 10. It took a few tries, but it was a successful hunt. Roaches got an 8 out of 10. The toe biter was so aggressive it latched onto the roach and the tweezers and just refused to let go. But the fish, which you'd think would be their favorite food, well, that had a totally different and honestly pretty surprising outcome. So what happened? What was the big climax with the fish? Well, after patiently stalking its prey for minutes, this fearsome apex predator just completely missed. It lunged, the fish darted away, and the mighty toe biter had to be hand-fed with tweezers. So much for being a master hunter, huh? So what's the takeaway from all this feeding? What's the final verdict? Well, it seems like fish are a great nutritious treat, but maybe just for special occasions. For an everyday meal, it's just way easier and more reliable to stick with insects like mealworms and roaches. So after all of this, what are we supposed to make of the toe biter? We've seen its brutal hunting skills, its surprisingly clumsy moments, and its one-of-a-kind custom home. So what do you think? Is it just a vicious predator we should all be afraid of? Or is it maybe a misunderstood creature that's just trying to get by? It's a fascinating question, and it really makes you see this creepy crawly in a whole new light.